Good morning. First of all, thank you all for joining me. It means a lot to me to have your feedback in this presentation. I've been working on this concept for over a year now, and I'm really excited to finally be able to share it with my English-speaking community. And I have to confess, I'm a little nervous, but you're family, so I know that you're going to be very forgiving. I'll be obviously very happy to get all your insights at the end of the presentation. Feel free to take notes on whatever you perceive. And I also asked Justin to get back to you or to reach out to you later for your feedback on some specific issues. But I appreciate in advance all your support. So let's start it. I'm going to go straight to the point. We have too many people, wicked mind people in power. We know what happens when we trust someone with a weak mind and a big ego. History is full of examples of weak-minded people clinging to power and eventually harming others. Let me tell you a story. Do you recognize this woman? This is Elizabeth Holmes. In January of this year, she was convicted of fraud and now is facing more than 20 years in federal prison. But only a few years ago, she was named by Forbes as the youngest self-made woman billionaire in America. Her company was valued at $9 billion for a new technology in blood testing. Before her powerful image started falling apart, she was viewed as innovative, powerful leader, and she was considered a role model for women founders in tech and science. Not only was her business a scam, but also was the perception of her power. It was no coincidence that it was her own team that exposed her. Her ego and her greed not only harm her investors, her clients, and the public trust in the health system, but most importantly, it harmed their reputation and reinforced the distrust in women entrepreneurs in tech and science. You will understand why I take this so personally. No matter how much power you think you have, if you have a big ego, you have a weak mind. A weak mind will not only harm others. When the conditions change, when you lose your status and your possessions, you will have nothing left. There is a growing number of people, conscious people, but few are in power. And we continue to have a lot of people in power that are not conscious. I spent my whole life teaching people without power how to fight the system for their rights. And I will keep doing that. But now I've made my mission to teach people who have power to use their minds and status to change the damn system. We need conscious leaders doing the right thing, especially when the system doesn't want to change. But doing the right thing means something different now. It means that leaders leads people, not organization. And leading people means you are responsible for the overall well-being of the people you lead. I'm not the only one saying this. Many studies, including Edelman's yearly study on trust, show that doing right things within the system is not longer enough. A leader has a social responsibility to create systemic change and promote social justice. I have a question for you to consider. So I will pair you up and ask you to spend the next 5 minutes or so discussing with each other this question. Here is my question. What's an idea that the system might react to as a threat? I mean, what action or change will awaken the dragon? It can be within an industry, a community, a society as a whole. So let's pair up for 5 minutes and I see you back after that.
You asked one hell of a question, Virginia, for a 5-minuter.
Well, does anyone would like to share some of the ideas? I would love to hear it.
I'll kind of merge ours. I was talking a lot, but I was talking about healthcare specifically for women, but then is it Natalie? She had said that about 90% of executives in her world being women. And I was like, I think that helped healthcare, but I definitely think that would really make a lot of people uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mentioned 90%, like mandate 90% of CEOs or women of color.
Yes. What else?
I said we should get rid of the Electoral College, which the Republican Party would never agree to.
Right. Anyone else?
I brought up women's healthcare as well. But Mike, I thought, made a really interesting point, Virginia, which is it depends on how you define the system a little bit, right? Because you could come at this from so many different angles, right? Be it at the government level all the way down to an individual company level. And I'm sure that's the intent, right?
Yes.
But yeah, what he said I thought was really awesome was, you know, what would have the dragon rear its head is when it feels threatened and feels as though it will lose its power, right? Whether that be an individual person or an entity, that's when you'll see the ugly and the gloves come off, right?
That's right. That's right. Those are really bold, great ideas. And we know that smart people, conscious people like yourself can come up with great ideas to shake the system. But it takes heroes to implement them. So heroes are being called. You probably have your own definition of a hero, but let me share you mine. A hero is someone who answers the call to use their status to create significant change that directly benefits humanity. Maybe you are the hero. So please raise your hand if you have a personal story that motivates you to take action. Or raise your hand if you had an awakening to do something greater than yourself. Or raise your hand if you have a strong calling to take on the system. I have all three. Now, please keep your hand up if you're feeling reluctant, fearful, or resistant to do it. And keep your hand up if you have the humility to ask for help. And keep your hand up if you're willing to change yourself first. I know it is challenging to answer a call. Maybe you don't want to lose your privilege or even admit that you have it. Maybe you don't want to risk your social status. Maybe you don't want to hurt your reputation. Or maybe you think you already have enough obligations. Let me share with you another story. This is Muhammad Yunus. He was born in Bangladesh and came to the US to get his doctorate in economic development. He got himself in the secure and very comfortable lifestyle of a tenured professor in the US. But the famine in 1974 in Bangladesh revealed his calling, and he decided to go back to his country and founded what, at best, was considered an unthinkable business venture. His studies prove that a very small loan can make a disproportionate impact in the economic status of poor families. But traditional banks didn't trust poor people to pay back, even tiny loans. So Yunus lent $27 of his own money to 42 women in the village. And not only he got his money back within the time promised, but he made a profit. Based on that experiment, he founded the Grameen Bank, the village bank. Its business model was to loan microcredits to group of women in poor villages. This model did not only guarantee the good investment of the credit and the improvement of people's life, but also significantly empowered women and impacted gender roles, making women the main provider in every household. And to ensure repayment, the bank used a system called solidarity groups, making loans only to a small group of women that applied together as a group, making each other accountable for the repayment of the loan, and therefore supporting each other in their success. Yunus was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and the Grameen Bank business model has been replicated in more than 100 developing countries and even in the US. But there is a catch in being a hero. If you fight the system will fight back. That means that answering the call requires an indomable mindset. Indomable is a Spanish word that loosely translates to impossible to domesticate. It's not about being a rebel or an outlaw. It's about doing the inner work to ensure that no one and nothing has power over you, especially your own mind. Indomable is freeing yourself from inner oppression and equipping yourself with the skills needed to lead systemic change. These are the 8 traits of an indomable mind. If you want the full definition of each one, please feel free to go to virginialacayo.com/becoming indomable. They're all there. Today, I want to focus on the 3 traits that separate conscious and unconscious leaders. Some leaders might be intentional in their action, confident, even arrogant, actually, resilient, like cockroaches, have a systemic vision, meaning that they understand the system well enough to work it, and be creative, at least enough to stay in power. Both Elizabeth Holmes and Mohammed Yunus have all these 5 traits. But only Yunus has self-awareness, self-mastery of his mind and emotions, and is constantly evolving. In other words, cabrones are not indomables. Does anyone speak Spanish here? Anyone?
I do.
Can you please,
I'm laughing out loud. This is great.
can you please translate the word for us?
Cabrones?
Cabrones, what it means in English. What will be a
Oh
good
boy.
translation?
It's not good.
Go ahead.
A jerk? I mean,
What else?
I would say hustles.
Asshole.
Jackass, asshole.
Thank you. I was not allowed to say by words in this presentation. You did. So now think of someone that is a cabron in power. And if it's your boss or your spouse, please don't tell them. Cabrones do not have the following traits. They don't have a critical mind. A true critical mind is not just about being a skeptic of what other people say. It is mostly the ability of not blindly believing the stories you tell yourself. The system is a propaganda machine that has conditioned us to believe that all its ideas are ours and are true. A critical mind helps you see through the bullshit, especially your own, and frees you to have a healthy perspective of things and an ongoing curiosity about the alternatives. Let me show you how this works with a self-reflecting question. What is something that you think is true? Take a moment, think about it. What is something that is true to you? You have it? Have it in mind? Okay. Now, what is one argument why it might not be true? Think about an argument why that you think is true might not be true. Do you have it? If you answer this question, this is critical mind at work. Okay, let me move on to the next trait. Self-mastery. Self-mastery is having power over your mind. And by controlling your mind, you're capable of overcoming self-sabotage and paralyzing thoughts and emotions. Stay strategic instead of reactive. And most importantly, it makes you capable of handling the gaslighting that comes with agitating the system. This ability doesn't require hours of meditation or play pretend that you're unshakable. It's true. Let me show you how your thoughts and emotions are connected. So let's take a minute to reflect on the next question. What big emotion do you struggle to control? What big emotion do you struggle to control? Got it? Whatever you wrote down that emotion is being used to control you, either by your own mind or by others. If you take on systemic change, this big emotion that you can't control will be the one that stops you. Let's do a round of speed coaching. Who wants to unpack their big emotion? Just warning, this is not therapy or confessional. We only have 2 to 3 minutes to get you to an insight. So let's try. Who wants to play with me and unpack their big emotion? Raise your hand or open the mic. Barbara, go ahead. What is the big emotion you have that you can control?
It's anger in different variations, from irritation to frustration to silence.
Right. So anger, that's a good one. It's a powerful one. So tell me briefly, like in one sentence, when was the last time you felt that feeling, that emotion, anger?
It was last week when I was negotiating a job that I was negotiating on, and I explained the type of person I am and what works for me in terms of the work environment as an introvert, and how I can be able to use those skills in a way that is helpful for the both of us. And the answer that this person said was, well, I'm an introvert and I'm okay working in this way. And I got really irritated because this person is a person of a different gender, a different color, a different culture, and a different country. And even without all of those, as much as we might have the same personality, I felt like I was being gaslighted and that I did not matter and that I did not know myself. And instead of speaking up right away, I got really angry inside because I wanted to just make sure things are okay. And I wanted to step away and handle my emotions, which is I was silencing my own self.
All right. This is a great example. I appreciate your vulnerability and you sharing your story with us so we can all learn. So let me go back to the facts. The fact is that you were sharing your perception and your views and your needs, right? About being an introvert and what you needed to feel comfortable. And that person said, literally, according to you, I'm an introvert, also an introvert, and I'm okay working this way, right? That's what he said. Those are the facts. Facts are neutral. I hear that, Virginia, hear that, and for me, it's like, good for you. You heard that, and your mind created a thought. Your mind interpreted as, he is gaslighting me. Mm-hmm. That thought created the emotion of anger. Was not what he said that created the emotion of anger. Was your thought about what he said that created the emotion of anger. And that emotion led you to behave in a way that was not what you wanted to do, to be silent, in a very crucial moment of a job interview. So this is how emotions, thoughts and emotions are connected. And this is why it's so important that we learn. Self-mastery is about learning how we manage our thoughts so we can manage intentionally the emotions that we feel, so we can act in a way that serves us. The fact, like, I'm also an introvert and I'm okay working in this way, could be interpreted in a different way. Your thought could have been, good for you, that doesn't work for me, but I'm happy for you. And if you're happy for that person and you're okay with the difference, your emotion will be a different one, will not be anger, will be, I mean, think about it. If your thought was, well, I'm happy for you, what will you feel?
Happy.
Happy. And if you're happy, your behavior, the rest of the conversation in that meeting will be completely different, right? Mm. That's how self-mastery works. The capacity of intentionally think in a way that serves us to create the emotion that we need to feel in order to behave or to act in a way that we need to act to get the results we want. Thank you, Barbara, for sharing this with us. So let's move on to the next and last trait, infinite growth. This one is about creating literally a new world by continually increasing your level of consciousness and using your status to change things. Infinite growth is the state of mind where you deeply enjoy personal growth. This is the fun part that most leaders never reach. Imagine what will happen if just 10% of leaders became indomable. Only 10% of us became indomable. Business will prove that addressing social issues is a good business model. We will embrace diversity and tap into collective intelligence and creativity to innovate. And the next generation of leaders will have better role models to follow. I truly believe we all have a calling. So, as John Lewis said, speak up, speak out, get in the way, get in good trouble, necessary trouble. So, what good trouble are you going to get in? Do you want an ally? You can reach out to me. Thank you. Thank you.
Great job.